Hey guys, we're back up into mid 60s, getting up to 70. Nice, beautiful day. It feels like spring. So I thought, let's do a video I've been wanting to do. Let's pretend like I have a little patio. What can I grow there? How much space do I have? How can I maximize it? What can I plant? So let's go out on the deck and let's look at what I'm talking about and get started. I always feel like I'm growing with limited space, but I think I have a lot more space than I realize. And I think you can grow a lot in a teeny weeny amount of space if you just use some of the tools available. But not everyone has, things like this, like a green stalk. So what if we just had a tiny little patio? And so I'm thinking, let's pretend, look at this beautiful white rose. Let's pretend this is the only space we have right here, which is probably, I don't know, 5 foot, maybe, yeah, about 5 foot, then a little bit of wall space. So what could we grow there? So my first thought would be the wall. We use it with planters. One of mine is missing. I just have to get another hook to hook that on there. So you can use the wall, vertical, growing. And then what if we had something like this on a patio? This is probably 4 by 2. So you got a 4 by 2 space, and then you've got all the storage underneath. But, this was like an $89 purchase. Not everybody, this was a gift for me, and not everybody has that to get started. What if you could think of other things like an old baby bathtub, pull the plug, fill it up with some good soil. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I have done this in the past. I've used weird things for garden planters. You just really got to think outside of the box. But so for today, what we're going to do, I'm going to empty out this bed, except for the strawberries and the celery. So basically, we're going to take out the thyme. Everything else stays. And then it's well, it's not really mid-December yet, but it's like the 5th. Yeah, today's the 5th. So that means it's cold. Well, it's kind of cold, but then it's also warm. So it's up and down, but it's going to get cold. January, February are kind of the harsh months here. But I want to see if I can grow something edible through January and February and into March. And I'm thinking greens, Asian greens, some lettuces, maybe spinach. So another thing you would want is some kind of insulation. And so what I'm going to use for this setup is what I already have, are these mesh, these silver things. These are rebar mesh that you can get at Home Depot. It's one giant long strip for like $3.99, and you cut it to fit whatever planter you're using. And then I've got some dollar store plastic shower liners that we're going to cut holes into. We're going to cover this area, and we're going to create a hoop house or a greenhouse to grow some winter greens. So that's what we're going to do today. And yep, so let's get started. The first step, and I'm not going to film it too much, it's going to be boring. I'm going to be removing all this thyme. And don't worry, we are relocating it somewhere that it will be very beneficial. The next day, and I got distracted and sidetracked, but we're back at it. It's about 15 degrees colder today, actually maybe 20, but we're going to get this thyme harvested. You can see it is just prolific. And this is one of my least favorite herbs to dry. So I think this year we might try actually freezing. Well, not this year, because I just did thyme harvest like 2 months ago. It's just, it takes so long to pick all these little leaves off. It's just very time consuming. So we're going to try freezing it. But I have so much. Look at that. It's so pretty. But it's taken over the entire bed. Right, Jeffrey? No. All right, I think that's enough. And now we're going to take off this mesh covering. We don't need that because we're going to use something to keep the heat in. We're going to use that dollar store clear shower liner and cut some holes in it. So here are some more examples of what you could use as a planter. This is a Dollar Tree, I guess, soda bin, beverage bin that I drilled holes in. Got in there. had strawberries in here at one point. And this is a galvanized metal, I think it's also a beverage tote or thingamabob. And I also grew strawberries in this. But you could even use a free recycling tote like this. It would need an awful lot of soil though, but that has holes in the bottom as well. And yeah, you just gotta kind of think outside of the box and look for items that could work as a planter. Just remember, you gotta have those drainage holes. Okay, this was a container I had in my house, and I drilled holes in it and brought it out here and put a columbine in it. It was just something I've had for like 20-30 years, and I didn't like it in the house anymore, so I thought, let's put it outside, and it is working just fine. So these are pretty well filled. These will spread so quickly that I don't want to add much more. So we have a ton left. So what I'm going to do is I've got these super duper cheap trays that are breaking and falling apart. Cut some holes in this one in the bottom. I'm going to insert it into this other flimsy broken one. And we're going to put maybe an inch of soil or 2 or 3. And then put the rest of the thyme from that container in here. And then in the spring, we can just cut little cubes, divide it up into little cubes, and then go plant those wherever we want or sell them in a plant sale. That way we don't have to waste the time. So that's what I'm going to get busy doing now. Slow going because there's so many weeds hiding in here with the thyme. This one is a weed. You can test that by rubbing your fingers and then smelling. I have pulled so many of these out. Here's another patch. So you just rub it. It has no scent or like an earth scent. It is a weed. The thyme, which is like this right here, will smell like thyme. So I'm going to pull all of these hitchhikers out that are trying to blend in with the thyme. This bed's going to be so much better. There's another one, another weed. And you can see it was a good thing to go ahead and do this. The thyme was taking over everything. This strawberry here was pretty much just completely blocked from the sun. I think it probably will come back to life once we get this cleaned up. I filled this entire container with thyme, and I had so much left that I started filling up other containers. I should add, before you take on transforming your patio into a garden space, make sure you're getting enough light. You're going to need at least 4 to 6 quality direct sun hours a day. Okay, so one shower curtain left folded in half fits perfect for this planter. We're going to take our scissors and put slits all along here, and then I'm going to secure it in place with those silver clothespins. So we're going to get started with seeds. We're definitely going to do some kind of lettuce. Maybe this ruby red is what I'm thinking. And then I have a teeny weeny bit of this left, so I don't know if I have enough of that. This is one of my favorites. It's from Johnny's. It's a wildfire blend that does well. I grew it all winter long last year, and I was able to harvest several times during the winter. And to keep in mind, this is a zone 7-ish. May put some bunch of onions in there, and maybe the radicchio and some kind of very small dwarf kale. Either this, which I grew last year in that same container, or the Siberian dwarf. And I've got so much spinach everywhere else. I don't think I'm going to do spinach, but we'll see. We may try these as well. This is 5-spot. It grows in full sun, but it doesn't like the heat. So I wonder if I could get away with growing it in this little mini greenhouse. It's going to be an experiment, but I like to grow a flower in any planting area and also an herb. And we've got the thyme. I left a teeny weeny couple little patches of thyme, so we'll have an herb and a flower, and then all of our edibles in that little small patio area. After you decide on soil, containers, you need to think about long-term fertilizing options as well. I have to be really creative because of my dog. He loves to go after fertilizer and or compost. So here I'm just using scraps of veggies that have been steeping in that water and worm castings and leaf compost. And look, I even had a strawberry that was trying to put a little flower out, so I pinched that off. And then off to the left, that looks suspicious to me. It does not look like the variety of strawberry I'm growing. It actually looks like a wild strawberry weed. So I did end up pulling that out, and you will see that here. It is gone when we're ready to plant, which is now. I topped the bed off with new potting mix, watered it in well with some rainwater, and I decided we're going to do the buncheon onions, the dwarf Siberian, kale, and the lettuce blend, and the radicchio, and the flowers. So all of those have been planted. I put my plastic cover back on, secured it with those stainless steel clips, and then another addition, we're going to use these lights. So if it gets below, let's say 30 at night, I can just pop those on, and look, I let the celery kind of keep its feet hanging out of the blanket, and just so he doesn't get too hot. He's used to living in the cold.